Hey guys, Elisabeth from Legendary Potter Studios. This is where we read and have bookish adventures, discussions about books, and a dash of TV and movies. Come along on some bookish adventures, and I hope you have fun here. Now let's get back to the video. Hey guys, it's me Elisabeth. I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be doing a book review. We're actually going to be doing a triple book review. We're going to be talking about 3 different books that I've finished recently, and without further ado, let's just get into the book review. I'm not very good at these. I want to try to get better at these, but I thought I would do this so that I can, you know my thoughts on these books that I've read recently, and I can get better at this, and I just think this is a good idea so that I can have my thoughts on these books, and I can remember in the future, come back to these videos and see what my thoughts were on these books at the time of reading them. So let's just get into it. I just want to mention that 2 of these I have read by audiobook and 1 of them I have read physically, although 1 of them I read half audiobook and half physically. So we're going to start off with the book Mattimeo by Brian Jacks. This is not my copy, this is actually my brother's copy, but I just kind of took this so you can kind of see it. But I listened to the audiobook for this one, and I've been slowly listening to the Redwall series. I listened to the first book. I've already listened to it before when I was younger. I used to have the audiobook on CD and I used to listen to it all the time. And I also used to listen to Martin the Warrior because I think my brother had that one on audiobook. And I've also read the book Redwall physically when I was younger once as well, but I've never gotten much further than that. And so I decided this year that I wanted to actually get into the series and read all of them because my younger brother is obsessed with these books. So I reread Redwall, and then I reread Martin the Warrior, not thinking that Mattimeo was actually the second book. So I just listened to Mattimeo. I finished it on Friday, and let me tell you, I gave this book 5 stars. It's so good. If you don't know what Redwall is, it is about these animals that live in a place called Mossflower, and it's about mice that live in this abbey called Redwall, and basically they're trying to protect Redwall. That is kind of the premise of the first book. They're trying to protect Redwall from the rats and the evil animals, and there's actually a bunch of different characters. There's a hare, Basil Staghair. He's my favorite character. I'm sorry, he's just my favorite. And then there's Constance the badger. There's all kinds of different animals, and there's Asmodeus, who is a snake. That's in the first book, but it's such a good series, and it's so interesting, and just it's so different than what most books are. And this one I just really enjoyed. I enjoyed returning to the same characters as in Redwall, like Basil Staghair and Matthias, because in Martin the Warrior it was totally different characters because it's about Martin the Warrior. And I love that we got to revisit these characters from Redwall because they're my favorite characters. And that's the thing about some of the other books. I don't know if we ever get to visit these characters again. I haven't read the other books, so I don't know that. I could always ask my brother, but I don't really know if we'll get to see these characters again. Maybe we will. I'm not really sure. But I just love these characters, and it's just so well written. And even though I didn't read them physically, I really enjoyed the audiobooks. It's actually narrated by the author as well, with other voices, and it's just so good. I really enjoy it. I highly recommend you try this series out. I would recommend anytime if you're going to read something to physically read it. If you have the choice and you want to physically read it, then physically read it. If you want to listen to the audiobook, it was definitely really good. But reading the book physically is always better. Even though I do listen to audiobooks, it is definitely better to read them physically. But I really enjoyed this, and basically this story takes place after Redwall, and basically Matthias's son and some of the other children at Redwall get taken by this evil guy named Badrang, and they have to go save them, basically. And it's so good, and it's just, I really enjoyed it. I don't really know what else to say. I gave this one a 5 stars. I am really enjoying these books, and I want to actually keep going on because there's a lot more books in the series. But this is one of those series that I'm just going to kind of listen to the audiobooks whenever I get the chance or whenever I feel like I have the time to listen to them, because I have so many books I want to read. I'm not just going to read it all at once in a row because there's so many books in this series that's just not going to happen. Same with The Wheel of Time. I've read the first 2 books. I will continue with the series, but I'm not going to just read them all in a row because there's so many books, and I have so many other books I need to read. I have to break it up a little bit because The Wheel of Time has freaking 13 books, and Redwall might have more than that. I don't even know. But that's a lot of books, especially when they start to get really huge, like Wheel of Time. Those books are huge. I don't have time to sit there and read all of those books at once. I gotta read them in my own time when I can. Sorry about that cut off, but my camera died and I had to let it charge a little bit. Emphasis on a little bit, so it's only at 33%. But, yeah, that's great. Okay, so I was talking about Mattimeo. Basically, this is a middle grade fantasy. I think it's middle grade, whatever. And I really enjoyed it, so I would recommend you try it out. Next book. I listened, well, okay, so I've read half of this book, about, not quite half, but I've read this much. I read 256 pages of this book. I want to say that I actually read this last year, and then I just kind of set it down and wanted to take a break from the series because I had been reading all of these books like in a row, and I wanted to take a break. And I don't know why I stopped halfway through this book, or almost halfway. That was really dumb. But, sorry that clip cut off, but this camera, everything is happening today. First it loses battery, then it fills up for the 2nd time today. Like, it's so annoying. You know what I need to do? I need to get extra batteries and extra cards so that this doesn't happen all the time. But I have one camera battery and 1 camera card, so that's my life. But I was going to talk about Queen of Shadows. This is from the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. And to give you an idea of what the Throne of Glass is, the Throne of Glass is a YA fantasy series about this girl who gets saved from a enslaved mine camp thing in a mountain or something. It's called Endovir. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it's a really horrible place, and she gets taken out of there and taken to the king, and basically she has to fight in this competition thing. It's been a while since I've read the first book, but that's kind of the gist of the first book. But it is stemmed way beyond that now. Like, that's not even close to what the rest of these books are about. But essentially, it like spirals. Lots of things spiral out of control, and she's not who everyone thought she was, and just there's all this stuff that goes down. But this book is the 4th book. There are 7 books, so I still have 3 more to read, and wow, just wow. What? I don't even remember what I rated this, but the first half of this book, when I was reading it, I was like, okay, I'm kind of sick of this at this point, because I was just reading them, and I was just kind of getting annoyed because they're humongous. All of them are ginormous, and they're 7 books, and I'm only on the 4th one. So I was reading them all in a row, and I started to get a little sick of it. I was like, they're so long, and it's not like, it's good, but it's not like the most amazing series I've ever read, so it's not like I'm like dying to read the next page. But this book once I started listening to the last half of it, I was like really into it. The one thing I'm not a fan of is the love, the romance, but again, that is me. I'm not a romance person, but I will say I did enjoy that she finally went with one dude. Basically, in the first book, she liked one person, and then I think toward the end of the book, she liked another person, and then in the second book, she liked another person, and in the third book, she kind of was like didn't really like anybody at this point because of stuff that went down, but then she liked another guy, completely different guy, and in this book, she still likes that same guy, and I think it's gonna, last basically forever. But this book was just so full of it was just good. There was lots of action, and it was just full of a lot of stuff. It definitely, I'm gonna say now, it was not my favorite book ever, obviously, but I did enjoy it. It's definitely a good book, a thick one as well. If you're wondering, let me find it. It's 642 pages, and that's just this book. The very last book is the longest one, and it looks like it's smaller than this, but it's not. It's longer. I'm have to be ready to read the next 3 books because they're all huge. All of these books are huge except for the first one, and the second one I think is less as well. But the other ones are all huge. And I'm just like, how someone writes that much, I don't know. But I did enjoy the book. Sorry, I keep talking about how big this is. I did really enjoy this. I think I gave it a 4 stars, 3.5, something along those lines. I don't have my rating. I rated it on the Story Draft Beta, but I enjoyed this book. It was basically she was trying to save the, I guess, kingdom or whatever from the evil king, and all of the, I guess you could say demons or whatever they call them. I think it's demons. And there was just so much stuff that went down that I was just especially towards the end, I was anticipating it and oh my gosh, it's gonna happen, and then good things happened, and then it ended really nicely. And the ending of this book had such a final ending, it felt like the end of a series, but there's still some there's still some evil villains that have not been defeated, but if you took out those evil villains, the ending, this book would have been the ending of a series, because that's what it felt like. It ended like the end of a book series, minus some complications that are still there, aka 2 villains that are still a threat. But it's just so weird because it's the way it ended was so almost final, but then there's that there's still some people that need defeated, so it's not actually over, but it just felt so so much it could have been an ending if you didn't have those people that it still existed. And it's just so weird. It was it was good. I really enjoyed it. I will be continuing with the series. It's not my favorite series, but I do enjoy it, and it's fun. It's a fun one to read. I'm not going to recommend this to everyone because it is a YA fantasy, and YA fantasy can be annoying sometimes, but I did enjoy it personally, and I don't really have anything else to say, so I'm going to move on to the next book. To the last book, Rule of Wolves. I literally just finished this an hour ago. I just want to say, out of these 3 books, this one was probably the most disappointing, but it was also really good. I'm going to explain that. What I mean is that I was super hyped for this book. I was so excited and so anticipating this book because this is part of a duology. It's the second book in a duology. King of Scars was the first book, and I read it and loved it. I think I rated it 5 stars or something. I really liked that book. It was really good. And I read this one, and it was still good. It just wasn't as good. It just kind of went down, and I think a very good chunk of that had to do with certain things, certain themes that happen in this book. Towards like the latter half of this book, there's certain things that I don't agree with, that I don't like, and I just, it puts the book way down, because if it weren't for that, I feel like it'd be way higher. And especially with some of the things that happened toward the end there that I was not expecting. Not my favorite thing. But then there's also like the way it ended. There has to be more, right? This is meant to be a duology, but there has to be more books in the Grishaverse, because of the way this ended. She ended it like there's gonna be more, and I'm confused. But if there is more, I'd be kind of excited, because that means we get to see Kaz Brekker again, and he's my favorite character in this whole universe. Also, something I want to mention is that Kaz Brekker was in this book for a hot minute, and I died because I was like, we get to see him again. And then at the end of this book, Inej Gaffa was in it, and I was just like, we got to see most of the Crow Club, and I was just so excited, because I love the Six of Crows. That book was so good, and I love the characters in that book. So I was excited to see some of those characters, and I was so excited. Sorry about that, but I was so excited about with the transformation that Zoya went through. Like, can we just talk about how amazing that was? If you've read this book, I will not spoil it, but there is just this really cool thing that happens with Zoya, and I was just like, that's amazing. That's just amazing. I loved it. And then at the end, there's a certain character I'm not going to mention that gets crowned as queen, and her crown is made of dragon wings, or made to look like dragon wings. And I'm just like, that is genius. I've never heard of that in my life, but that is genius. I love it, and I want a crown that looks like dragon wings. That is amazing, because I'm obsessed with dragons. So there is a dragon in this book. I'm not going to mention why there's a dragon or what happens. You can read this series if you want to know, but I just was like, that part I definitely enjoyed a lot. I really did enjoy this book a lot, but there are definitely some things I didn't enjoy, which brings this book to a 3.75 stars. There were some things that I did not enjoy, but overall I really did enjoy it, and I'm guessing there has to be more, and if there is, I'll probably read it, but at this point I'm trying to steer away from YA anything and just go more into like middle grade. Right now I'm really into middle grade, or adult, or just classics, or history and stuff like that. But I did enjoy this, and it is a 3.75 stars. And yeah, this book, like, just so much stuff happened throughout this book. Stuff kept happening, and like, you're just like, and there's so many different POVs. I think there's like, in this book, there's like, I think the first half, there's two halves. There's a second half and a first half of this book. There's the second half. So in the first half, I think we just have the 3 POVs, but then in the second half we get 4 POVs, and there's a couple of, I think there's a chapter in the beginning that has totally different POV or something, but it was so interesting for sure, and all the characters, I just absolutely love seeing Kaz Brekker again, and seeing the rest of the Crow Club. And then at the end we got to see Inej, and I was just like, we get to see you too. And it was just like that moment when Nikolai said that he was gonna go to Ketterdam and get Kaz Brekker to help him. I was just like, yes, we get to see Kaz Brekker again. I was so excited. And then I read it, and he was only in it for like a little bit, but at this point I don't even care. I was just like, I love this character, and I'm really happy to see him again. So that's fun. Then I am going to spoil this because I have to talk about it really quick. Because, like I said, I was talking about Kat Becker, but the ending says, get a message to the Crow Club, tell Kat Becker the Queen of Rebecca has a job for him. Like, if there's another book, which this ends like there has to be more books, Kat Becker's going to be in it, and I'm going to be pretty excited for that. That's basically the only reason. The only reason I care about this series anymore, because there's certain stuff I don't care about that really makes me lean towards not being into this. Basically, the main reason that I like this series and the other books, the other series in this universe, is the characters and the story, mostly. But most of the characters, like, they're just so good. I really like Kat Becker, like I said, and most of the Crew Club. There's a couple of members of the Crew Club I'm not a fan of. The Crow Club, sorry. And so Kat Becker, Nikolai, and Zoya are my favorites. They're just pretty awesome. And there's some other characters that are pretty cool too. And there's also some, like, really sad stuff in here as well. People die. It's a war, so people die. But, like, there's a person that died, and I was like, this is so sad. But, yeah, mostly, and just the ending, that was, like, so unexpected. I was just like, what is happening right now? It was definitely fun. I enjoyed it. And I'm going to stop talking about this book because I don't know what else to say, and I'm ready to move on to my next read. So, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, want to see more of my videos, check my channel link below. Turn the notifications on so you know when my videos come out. Subscribe, like, comment, you know the drill. And if you want to see videos on history, historical fashion, or sewing, check out my other channel, also linked below. And I will see you in the next video. I hope you have your own fun reading adventures. Bye. You can subscribe to the channel by clicking here. You can watch my latest video by clicking here, and you can turn notifications on down below so you're notified when my latest video comes out, and you can comment and like, and I hope you have your own fun reading adventures.